Hey, what's up, everyone? I'd like to welcome you back to hashtag Unscripted, where we have conversations that matter. I am your host, Shay Owens, certified life and relationship coach, author, motivational speaker, and podcaster. On today's show, we have Actshun Terrell taking the mic to discuss how he was wrongfully convicted, the process of trying to get it expunged and clear his name, all while making a difference in the lives of the people who are in the same boat. In February 2016, the Huffington Post stated, the U.S., which leads the world in incarceration of its citizens, has approximately 2 million people behind bars. This means a wrongful conviction rate of about 1% would translate to 20,000 people punished for crimes that they didn't commit. On death row, 1 in 25 people are likely innocent, according to the recent study, and that was back in 2016. Today, we're going to actually discuss the actual innocence, the Justice Reform of Michigan, the Conviction Integrity Unit, and life after being wrongfully convicted, and the impact that it has on not just him, but the entire circle of loved ones. The purpose of this interview is to share with you that everyone who is dealing with a legal matter doesn't really mean that they actually did the crime, the justice system, and who really gets the justice. I'd like to welcome today to Unscripted, Actshun Terrell. Actshun is taking the mic today. Actshun, say what's up to the listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey, listeners, how you doing? I'd like to first and foremost thank Ms. Shay Owens. I appreciate you for having me on the show.
Of course, of course.
I love the platform that you're doing. I love the work that you're doing. I've been following you for quite some time. To
Thank
the,
you, I
li-
appreciate it.
to the listeners, I'd like to say, how you doing? My name is Actshun Terrell. In 2013, I was wrongfully convicted of a crime that I didn't commit. I've been fighting ever since 2013 to try to get my name cleared from this crime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently working not only with the Conviction Integrity Unit of Michigan, but I'm working with helping other people as well while I'm going through what I'm going through. So I appreciate you. Hope you guys listening, learn. And if you need to contact me at the end of this message, I will have all my information ready for you guys.
I'm excited. I'm excited to actually get started. So what I want you to do before we get into the real deal Holyfield about um, what you're going through, what is your experience right now and all of that. I want you to go ahead and take us back to 2013. What did life look like for Actshun Terrell back in, let's say, 2012 up until the incident in 2013? And we'll dive a little bit more about into that. But what did your life look like before the wrongful conviction?
Well, I was living life high. I was smiling every day, talking, enjoying life. I was
Okay.
coaching at a prominent high school. We had just won back-to-back state championships. We were, in the midst of doing everything. I was on my way to being a coach at a college. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to say too many names right now at this moment, but I was on my way to being assistant coach on a prominent college. Uh, I was working at the school. I was doing a lot of things. I was increasing my awareness of myself. I was eating healthy, living healthy. I was
Mm-hmm.
going just regular old life. I didn't have any complaints.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's great. And you said you were working at a high school.
Yes, one of the prominent high schools. I don't want to say the
Nope.
name.
No, we're definitely not going to say any names at that time because right now it's kind of irrelevant, right? It's something that's in the past. So tell us about the incident that happened because I've already previously spoken to you, so I'm aware of it. But let our listeners know from the horse's mouth, as they would say, what happened and how did we get to where we are today?
Well, in a nut of it all, a kid had hit me with a cracker.
Mm-hmm.
I, uh, I went to the kid directly. The kid
Well,
jumped.
well, let's set the scene, right? Because
Okay.
I'm a visual
Okay.
person.
Well,
So,
all right. Let me set the scene.
yeah.
So, being a coach at this high school, during the day, the coaches monitor the lunchroom. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
high school has a big lunchroom. It's something like a commons at a college area. That's how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's constantly people running in, running out. So the school don't have enough security to control everything. So they would do, if the coaches were available or, if you didn't work during the day, you can come in and volunteer and help with the commons area. This
Okay.
one particular day, I'm in the commons area. I actually wasn't in the commons area. I'm a former student of the school. So I was working with one of my former teachers, and we were working on a project. And I get a call on my phone saying that it's a food fight downstairs. Woo! Now,
Look.
let me say
Right.
this.
Right.
I had on a white button-down shirt. As you can see, I love button-down shirts. I had on an all-white button-down shirt. When I get the call, I'm reluctant to go down there because I got on an all-white shirt and they having a food fight in the lunchroom.
Right. Right. But let
No.
me pause right there because so many people get that little that thing inside of them that says maybe this isn't a good idea. This is a perfect example because many times in my life I've had that where that one little thing will happen and I'll be like, dang, I should have just followed my first mind. So listeners, I want you, when you have that little thing inside of you that's going off that tells you don't do something or makes you hesitate about doing it, that's really the Holy Spirit working within you to tell you, look, there may be something up ahead that you may not be ready for or that you really don't need to go into. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to your story now. So white
Well,
button down shirt, you were on your way to this food fight.
yeah, I want to just elaborate on that. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing what I know now, I should have followed that first mind, but I didn't. I went downstairs. As I get downstairs, I get hit dead smack in the chest with
Mm-hmm.
a cracker filled with chili, splattered all over my shirt. I go directly to the kid. Kid jumps up, apologizes, and this is a kid that I know personally. I had 2 weeks prior. I had walked the kid. The kid had sprung his ankle. I carried the kid to his car.
Mm-hmm.
So, kid knew me personally. Um, I didn't take it as a form of disrespect. I took it as he was trying to hit something, and I just walked in the middle of it.
Right.
I got when I did get hit, I was a little mad at first, but they couldn't tell. The children couldn't tell. I walked away from the scene. 20 minutes later, no, I'm sorry, 2 hours later, I get a call to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Office for about an hour. Police come in and say, I'm arresting you. You sexually assaulted a kid. So I didn't know what was going on at the time. A security guard that worked at the school, she came and she said, I don't believe this. I'm gonna go look at the tape and we're gonna go from there. During that time, after she did what she did, I get taken to jail.
Okay.
They take me to jail.
Well, let's pause real quick because, again, me hearing the story previously and speaking with you, I want to make it very clear. It's not the kid that hit you with the cracker
It's
that
not.
has wrongfully now convicted or has said that there was there's an allegation against you. It wasn't the one that hit you with the kid. It was someone else.
Well, it was his girlfriend trying to
Okay.
protect him.
Okay.
So I didn't notice none of this at the time.
Okay.
So the kids when I go to jail, I get interrogated by one of the police officers. He's come in, he's interrogating me, and he's asking me all these questions. And
You're actually under arrest at this
I'm
point,
under. They arrested me and took me
in handcuffs and everything. And you're at the school.
at the school.
So you were walked out in handcuffs at
Yeah,
the school
but they
based off of only an allegation.
exactly. But what they did was a lot of the teachers, a lot of people came to my defense. And
Mm-hmm.
they knew I wasn't that type of guy. So what they did was they told them they got the police officers not to take me in handcuffs. But
Okay.
what they did was they still put the handcuffs on me, but they covered me in a big old coat. It still embarrassed me.
Right.
You
Because
know,
you're
at
walking
the
out
end
with
of
two
the day,
officers.
everybody stood up for me and everything. So they walked me out. As I'm walking out, all the kids coming out, Coach Actions, they giving me all kind of praise, and they sad. I even seen a couple of them crying. This is the impact that I had on the children. All right, the impact I had on the children was tremendous. I didn't know I had all this love
Mm-hmm.
coming from what I would do during the school. So as they walked me out to the car, the police officers being disrespectful. They even they wouldn't allow me to use the restroom, so I ended up having to use the restroom on myself in the car
Wow.
while in handcuffs. It was
Wow.
just that day was a very terrible day for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the most horrific times that I've had as an adult,
Right. Right.
and it put me in a situation where I didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
because I'm not this type of person. I never did anything like this.
Right.
So once I'm interrogated, I'm in the jail, I'm getting interrogated. The interrogating officer leaves me with his card.
Okay.
I take his card. The next day, I use his card. I didn't make any phone calls because I knew I was innocent. I don't know if the listeners know, but you get one free phone call to, anybody while you locked up. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't use my free phone call, but to call any members of the family or any girlfriends or anything like that. I called the detective, and I'm
Now,
glad. Well, only because I believed and trusted in the system. So he told me he was gonna go and look at the tape, and once he looked at the tape, he would able to clear my name.
okay.
But he didn't. So
Mm-hmm.
I called him because I trusted and believed in him as well as the system.
Right. Right.
You
Because
know,
you had no reason to doubt. You just knew. I mean, granted, we always hear about wrongful convictions, and we hear about people being in jail and they really shouldn't be in jail, or the wrong person. You got the wrong person. But you just knew that the justice system would in fact work for you.
yes, I believed in it wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
And once 3 days, they do a 72-hour hold. Once the 72-hour hold went and
Mm-hmm.
they they sent me to court. I went to court April 9th. The incident happened March 26th.
Okay.
Okay, from March 26th, my first court date was April 9th. So April 9th, I go to court. The detective come to court drunk.
Mm.
I confront him,
Mm-hmm.
because he left me in jail and I believed in him and everything, and my life was at stake.
Right.
In hindsight, I shouldn't have did that, but I was hurt. And they put in this horrific crime on me, saying that they convicted me of criminal sexual conduct, the fourth degree. Now, let me explain to the listeners what that is.
Yeah.
Criminal sexual conduct, the fourth degree is like, it's not a sexual assault crime, so they say it's a misdemeanor, but it
Mm-hmm.
holds weight like a felony. It's like if you brush against somebody, or if you make a mistake. Say, for instance, you in a restaurant and you're sitting with an young lady and you just so happen to reach over to the young lady and you brush past her breast or something. She can charge you with that. That could be a charge, a misdemeanor charge,
Okay.
and that's what they charged me with. But in reality, according to the camera footage and the security officer that went, she said, I never once came in contact with any kid in a sexual contact in manner. She had my back. But during the trial, the tapes got erased.
Well, we'll dive into that a little bit later. So let's fast forward,
Okay.
because you told us the life that you had before that. We told you now the story. We told the listeners now the story of what actually happened. So I want to kind of fast forward because we can go through the whole trial system. So you were locked up.
Yeah, I was.
Um,
I'm.
how long were you in jail?
I was in jail for a total of 3 days, 72 hours at one instance, and then once convicted, I what they tried to do was they had tried to have me go to these sex offender classes where you had to admit to a
Right.
rape or admit to doing something, and I didn't do anything, so I didn't admit to it, so they put me in jail for another 60 days.
Okay. So right now you had at that point 63 days. But I remember when we spoke before that you had mentioned a jury of your peers.
Yes.
And did you decide to take the
Well,
route of going to trial, or like how did you actually go from um, getting arrested? They looked at the video, there was no footage, and then you went to trial because you said it was erased, the video.
okay, I'm sorry, I skipped through some things. Let me
Mm-hmm.
go back. When I go to trial, the first time we went to what you call a preliminary exam. I told them I'm not going to trial until I'm not going to do any preliminary exams. I'm not going to court unless we get the footage of the tape.
Okay.
I didn't know that the security guard had went and looked at the tape at the time. I didn't know this until we got into trial.
Mm-hmm.
So they kept prolonging it because I kept asking for the tape, and my lawyer subpoenaed for the tape, but they never produced the tape.
Okay.
So they kept going, kept going. So now we prolonged it. The first prolonging uh, was April 9th. So we adjourned it to April 18th. And once
Mm-hmm.
again, I stood on my ground. I told the lawyer that represented me, I'm not going until they get the tape. Or I'm able to take a polygraph test because I know I'm totally innocent.
Right. Even though a polygraph cannot be used in the courts.
Right. But I
But you
wanted
just wanted to prove, you wanted to show face and prove your innocence to those that were just around you.
exactly. I wanted
Okay.
to show good faith.
Mm-hmm.
And they denied that. So then I told them, well, I'm not going until they get the tape. So they adjourned it again to April 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Now at this point, April 26th, the April 26th, I'm sorry about that. The judge, quote unquote, flexes on me and says, well, we're going to go to court anyway, regardless of if
Mm-hmm.
you got the tape or not. So I told my lawyer, I said, well, if they don't have any evidence, how can we go, you know, to trial? He said, well, they have these witnesses, all these witnesses collaborating. I said, but aren't all their stories different? He said, yeah. I said, so how can that be collaborated?
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, one kid said I brushed up against the girl while she was in the lunch line. One kid said I brushed up against the girl to get to the guy. And while I was talking to her, while I was talking to the guy, I had my hand on her butt and I'm arguing with the guy, you know, which never was the case in any
Right.
of the case. So
Right.
once the preliminaries go, all the kids were coerced by the police to say certain statements, and none of their statements collaborated, even with the police's cooperation, forcing them to do these things. So
Mm-hmm.
now, after the preliminary, they asked me what I would like to do. I said I would like to go to trial. They said, would you like to have a bench trial or a jury trial? I told them I want a jury trial because I know once the jury hear this and see everything that they're doing, from them not getting the tapes,
Mm-hmm.
from one of the security guards writing an affidavit and putting it into the courts. Now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another thing. I'm sorry. During the preliminary, we get an affidavit from a security guard that works at the school,
Mm-hmm.
and she wrote on the affidavit. She seen the tape, and there was no wrongdoing of me on this tape. But she didn't give it to my defense attorney first. They gave it to the prosecuting attorney first. So
Okay.
then the prosecutor uh, attorney calls my defense attorney, calls my attorney, and you know, tell him, well, we got this little letter, and you know, we're just gonna submit it to evidence, like it wasn't anything. They just try to push it to the side. So I
Right.
told my defense attorney, I said at the time, I said, listen, if she wrote this statement, I need to put her on as a witness. Put her on the
Right.
stand as a witness. I want to put her on as a witness. If she's seen the tape and now the tape is destroyed because the police didn't put no stopper on the tape. Whenever there's a criminal investigation and a videotape is involved, by right, according to rules of evidence, Michigan rules of evidence, they were supposed to go and get that tape. No
Mm-hmm.
one went and got the tape from the Michigan Department, the police department at all. No one.
And this is what year? This is
13.
2013, right? Okay.
2013. It's still 2013. So no one went to go look and view the tape. Once I tell my lawyer, you know, it seemed like in some instances I was doing more studying than what he was doing.
Well, that's always the case, right?
You
You
know,
want, because you're trying to prove your innocence. Like, my ex-husband, when I briefly spoke with you before, he's also in a very similar situation, but in the state of Florida. And your story almost mimics his story. The fight, doing all of the legwork yourself, and really and truly being jacked up. I mean, just want to be real with
yeah,
with the way I'm saying it. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Is really jacked up for someone who is innocent. Like, to me, if you're an attorney, you should want to defend your client, whether you are a public defender or whether or not you are a paid attorney. Do your job. Plain and simple. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit, because I don't want to get stuck in the
right.
story, right? Because now we're beyond the story.
Okay.
Fast forward, I want to give the listeners a little bit. So yes, you went to trial. You were not convicted. Um, you have not, the records have not been expunged, and now you are on a the
Well,
sexual predators. No?
right. No, no. Let me. I was convicted of criminal sexual conduct the fourth degree.
Okay.
I was convicted of that. And I want to take a time to explain the difference between expungement and exoneration,
Okay. Absolutely.
because a lot of people get those mixed up. It's three
Hmm.
things when it comes to the criminal system for getting your name cleared, so to speak. You
Okay.
have what we call a vacated judgment, expungement, or exoneration.
Okay.
Expungement means that you committed the crime, you did it, but you want them to take it off your record. You want your
Okay.
record to be sealed.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Busy, busy.
I got another appointment at 5:30. So expungements means to get your case sealed. Even though you did the crime, you did your time, you just want it, sealed so people can't see that or use that against you.
Hmm.
Vacated means that you get the crime removed with prejudice, means that they can come back at any time to look at the case again.
Okay. But what would be the
Exonerate.
fruits of that one?
Well, say for instance, you just want to get free. You
Okay.
know, you're innocent and you're willing to take it. Um, I don't know how familiar your listeners are with the New York City Five or the Central
Hmm.
Park Five.
Hmm. Hmm.
They
There's a
have
big Netflix show on it, right?
yes, they had their cases vacated.
Mm.
They're currently working on getting exonerated, but
Okay.
see, they had their cases vacated
So
because they
they can
want
get
to be free, right, so they can get out and be able to fight. Okay.
okay.
Then, like the last one is exoneration. Exoneration means to be totally found innocent and cleared of all charges.
Okay.
And that's what I'm working on right now with the criminal investigation, the CIU.
Okay. So what are you out on, or are you out on
No,
anything?
I'm not on anything. Only
So how
thing I'm
did you
on,
get out? Because somebody's listening and
well,
saying, okay,
I was only held. I was never held to go to prison. They called themselves doing me a favor by putting me into the sex offender class, put me on the SORA list, which is the sex. They got it the SORA list. It's the Sex Offenders Registry Association,
okay.
which is now being deemed unconstitutional for certain people. But anyway, that's another story in itself.
Hmm. Hmm.
But they put me on the SORA list. They had put me on 5 years probation. They had put me on the classes, going to the classes as long as I was on the SORA list. But when I would go to these classes, I would fight and let them know that I don't have a victim because I never did anything.
Hmm.
And they was trying to always force me to uh, find myself guilty or say I'm guilty. And I stood up for what I believed in. I stood up for what was right and what was true, and I'm innocent. So what they did was they said, well, either if you go to these classes, you either go to these classes and stay on probation, or you take 60 days.
Hmm.
I'd rather go and stand up for myself and take the 60 days because I didn't
Absolutely.
do anything. So I didn't really do a whole 60 days, but
But
for the
still, any time in is time in.
oh
So
man,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
time they put me in was from December to my birthday was February 12th. So this was 2016, December 2016 to February 12th of 2017 is
Hmm.
when they tried to put these things in, administer what they were doing. So along with that, I came. So 2016, I was in December 2016. They had put me. I stood up for my rights, and standing on my rights, they put me in jail for 60 days.
Okay.
After that, I get out. They say, "Well, you're gonna have to spend the rest of your life on the SOAR list." Now, for anybody that I know, the SOAR list is well worse than being in prison when you out here,
Right.
because they say that you can't, be around children. I couldn't. They put it where I couldn't work on computers, and at the time that was my business. My business was computers. I was building and repairing computers. I was teaching people about computers. They told me I couldn't be around my own kids. They told
Hmm.
me around my nieces, nephews. They try to label me as a predator, all because of what this person said.
Right.
And The problem is once the truth start coming out or people start reading the case, they start seeing that all this person was doing was trying to protect their boyfriend, the one that hit me with the cracker, but it expired out of control where the police took it to somewhere and try to make a mockery out of another black man, so to speak.
Wow. Again, I guess because I've personally known someone convicted and is still incarcerated. This person didn't get out, but thank God that you are out here and you're fighting now. So, what level, you said out of the three, which one are you on?
Exoneration.
Exoneration. Okay. So I know that right now you're fighting, you're working with different departments, different regulations that you're trying to come up with and all of that. Tell us a little bit about that, because your life right now, well, first, before we get into that, tell us about your life right now. Like, you can't be around your family. I know that you have children. How has your life changed by being on the SOARS list?
The SOAR list, um, it changed my life. Well, a lot of people that know me don't follow by it anyway because they know I'm not that person. So my life hasn't really changed, But for the sake of following suit, I be careful. It's certain, like I do speaking engagements, and a lot of people want me to come speak to the college students, which is I can do that. But when they want me to come to the high schools, I'd be very reluctant to go because anybody can pull rank on me and try to, see that I'm doing something good and want to do something bad to me.
So technically, you're not even supposed to be in around anyone that's under 18.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Okay.
Technically.
So,
But everyone that knows me, and knows what I'm going through, and a lot of people, they still invite me to schools. They still invite me to come speak.
right,
And
right.
and I think it's important because I noticed that it's a lot of young boys and a lot of young girls. In 2015, it was a guy named Brian Banks. I had
Mhm.
reached out to. I didn't know who Brian Banks was until his movie came out this year or early part of last year.
Mhm.
And I seen he went through a similar situation.
Yeah.
And I had reached out to this guy and I noticed that I had always protected myself. Being an athlete, I have seen people go down this road. So I knew what it meant for you to be wrongfully convicted
Right.
in
Right.
a sexual crime.
Because someone who is on any type of list dealing with the protection of children, I know you can't live around schools. I know you can't go around certain parks, certain activities, your own children. You said they made it so that you really can't um, be around them. How is that like for you?
Once again, it I don't follow that suit. They can't control me in that area. It might be wrong, it might be, but when it comes to being a father and his kids, everybody know I'm a father first.
No, absolutely. And a lot of people say, well, your kids are your kids, but then I'm going to play devil's advocate. Don't hate me for this question, but I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. Someone looks you up, right? They've seen you. I'm a person, for me, because I do have small children, that I follow the sex offenders list.
Right.
I want to know who's on the list. I want to know where they live. I want to know where they're around me. Um, let's say that you know where you're living right now, like, if
Mhm.
they look you up, what are the ramifications of that?
Well, anything what they because you have to in your area, you have to check in with your neighborhood local police department.
Okay,
So everybody know you, but I can't say what the ramifications are for somebody else. I don't live my life like that. I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna never get mad at you for being devil's advocate because you're a person,
right,
you know.
right,
And I can't say what they would do or what they won't do because I don't live my life like that. But what I do, all the police officers knew me, so all they doing is following suit. And when if somebody come or say I did something or come, the police officer call me or they'll come, and say, hey, we got this. Just be careful because they know my situation is a little different because I was a community leader.
gotcha.
So
And
it's
right now it's
different.
2020, so I mean, this has been some years coming now that you've been in this
Exactly.
fight.
seven
So let's
years.
talk. Let's talk about the fight now, because I
Okay.
mentioned earlier the CIU.
Yes.
We mentioned that. You are working with some heavy hitters. I mean, let's go ahead and put it out there, because I asked you a question before the interview started on whether or not you would change. Um, you know, for me, everything that I've been through in my past has helped me to be who I am today, as being a coach and writing a book and being a speaker and having a podcast and getting these conversations out there. So for me, I personally wouldn't change anything that I've already been through. Would you change what you've been through? Because again, some heavy hitters now that are kind of in your corner and they're here fighting with you. So let's talk about that. Talk about what you're doing, who you're working with, how can the community come out and help you, or help the next person that may be either convicted or even wrongfully convicted.
Well, I'm gonna say this first and foremost. I want to give a big shout out to Kim Worthy
Come
and
on,
what she's
Kim.
doing.
Yes.
Kim Worthy, people have a lot of misconceptions of what she's doing and how she's handling business, but I'm telling you guys, all you listeners, you need to see what she's doing now. Because if it wasn't for Kim Worthy, I wouldn't be in the fight. I'm with Kim Worthy. I don't know if you guys follow me on my
Well, they
Facebook
don't
page.
know who you are yet, but we're gonna make sure they know after this.
Okay. Yeah, but I've got a lot of pictures. I have meetings with her. I sit down with her. She put together what you call the Conviction Integrity Unit for Michigan.
Okay.
And in Michigan, we have two of them. We have one that's operating in Wayne only, and then the other conviction unit is all the rest of the counties in Michigan. So Wayne has its own conviction integrity unit, which is ran by a lady named Valerie Newman, who is also I talk to Valerie every day. So having heavy hitters in your back pocket,
Tell
or
Valerie, next time you talk to Valerie, tell her and Kimberly Newton, I want them on my show. So
okay,
let them know. I want to interview them. I want to know what they're doing. Let's get it out there. Let's really step it.
there's another person that's very vital to this that does the footwork. Her name is Patricia Little.
Mm-hmm.
Patricia Little was an ex-police officer who is taking her time to do investigation to help these people get free. She go out and she get the proper people, talk to them, interview them, and she bring back the information to Valerie, and Valerie and her team dissect it, and they go in, get the people out that if you're in prison, she going to get you out of prison.
Come on now. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk
Most
about
definitely.
um the what you need from us as a community
Well,
and what you're doing, because I want to really dive into that. What are you actually doing day in and day out for yourself and for other people who are actually wrongfully convicted?
okay, well, I want to touch on something that you said previous. You asked me, what I want to change. I can't say that I. Okay, I want to touch on what we were going on to discuss when you asked me what I want to change. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot say I would change what happened in my life if I had the chance to. Now you asked me what I would change if I had the opportunity to change. I can't say that I would want to change anything right now because it catapulted me to heights and allow me to meet certain people, as you spoke of, that are heavy hitters. That, if I wouldn't have went through this, I wouldn't be having the opportunity to sit down with these people.
Right, right.
And
You
it
wouldn't
gave
even
me,
have the passion to sit down with them, though.
yeah. I mean, I
Or,
would have had the passion because of what my work entitled before
mm-hmm,
this,
mm-hmm.
was going to jails and talking to kids
Okay,
already, talking to young men and women already. This is already in the works.
right.
So
But now that
God,
pushes that much harder, though, right?
exactly,
Right,
exactly. Now it puts me in a position where, I got to get in and go hard or don't go at all.
right, right. No, I get it. I understand that as well. So, how can we help you as a community? Um, and where are you process-wise, with being completely cleared off of any list? And like, what is that for you right now?
It's exciting, but it's like a hurry up and wait effect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as far as what the community can do, I'm gonna tell you one thing we don't need. Being wrongfully convicted, or if you don't know, We don't need the ridicule. We don't need the finger pointing. We don't need the ignorance. What we do need is the compassion, the understanding, the trust, the loyalty, the commitment, and as well as the communication. We don't have, that's what's separating us, the communication, because a lot of people are separate and don't understand. So if we can create maybe a little sit down between the people that are wrongfully convicted. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people out here that have done a crime and doing it, but they, did the time. Those people need help too. Because you being convicted, I was in a dark state. I was in a depression mode because the way they came at me and how they did it, and I was hurt. But I had to get myself up, dust myself off, and say, I'm not going to take this no more. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. So why should I be acting as if I was guilty?
Right.
But as a community, we need people to come in and embrace that. I don't need the finger pointing, and as far as where I'm at in the process, by me working directly with a lot of people that I work with, I think my process is going to work a little faster because they see me more. They see me out. They see me fighting not only for myself, but for others. They see me fighting. They see me at these rallies, at these events.
Right.
And they want to invite me. I was invited to a town hall meeting with Valerie, a private town hall meeting with Valerie and Kim Worthy. Only because of the people that I work with.
Okay.
The people I know. And I sat down, I learned a lot. And what the town hall was about is actually a meeting more of the Wayne County commissioners getting together and getting funding for the CIU.
Okay.
So they wanted intake and input, and they seen me doing a lot of things, and they said, well, you're still convicted. Why are you out here fighting as if you're not convicted? Because in my mind, I'm not convicted.
Right. Just on paper.
On y'all paper, y'all convicted me. Y'all wrongfully convicted me at that. So my fight and where I'm at in the fight is a lot closer than I can really speak on at the moment.
That's okay. That's okay, because we're going to be in here fighting, with you as well. So I know that you have a book out. So those who are listening, if you know someone, if you just want more information, if you want to be connected with Actshun, if you want to help, I want Actshun right now to take this time out to talk about your book, talk about what you have coming up next, talk about how we can help support you, talk about your social media, how they can reach out to you for those that want to connect with you or just want to hear a little bit more about your story, or that may even have questions. You may have that person that's going to play that devil's advocate or on the other side of this. And I know that you welcome those conversations. So let the listeners know about what's going on with you now.
Well, right now, I'm going to say this first and foremost. I welcome any and all negative, positive, but I spew out positive. So
respectfully, we want this to be a respectful conversation at the end of the day, right?
I welcome all, and I will take all in consideration. I will listen, and I will help. Now, in order to see about what I'm doing, you can follow me at Actshun. That's ACTSHUN Terrell TERRELL / at gmail.com is my email. ActshunTerrell@gmail.com. You can follow me at Facebook.com/ActshunTerrell is my Facebook handle. I have a book out. My book is called Camouflage Cries. It's currently on Amazon.com. What you can do is type in Actshun, once again, ACTSHUN Terrell. Type in that into the search, and the book will pop up. I have a 501c3 called Connection, in which I'm connecting what I'm bridging the gap. Okay. I'm bridging the gap between wrongfully convicted people that have served time in jail to technology.
Okay.
I'm teaching them how to either work on computers, Either if they want to build their own computers, I'm teaching them how to do that. I'm teaching them how to work on smartphones, cell phones, how to use smart TVs, anything technical that they have been inclined to have missed while they've been locked up. I'm bridging
Right.
that gap.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome. Helping them get reallocated
yeah,
to the way society is moving today, which we know everything is on computers, social media, phones, and all of that. So that's awesome.
I look at it like this. A lot of these guys been in jail since 70, 72, 74, where there wasn't even any justice,
Hmm.
and they were wrongfully convicted. And when they went to jail, they had the conviction of it. They had the big fat screen TV. Now they get out of jail. We have cell phones. We have microwaves. We have flat screen TVs. We have TVs in your car. We have
Hmm.
cell phone TVs on them, and they're so lost.
Right.
They're
Right.
so lost. And I want to bridge that gap for them. So my 501c3 is called Connection. So it's basically like a connection, but I'm using my name, Connection.
That's
You
awesome.
can donate to that.
And we'll
I'm
make sure
setting
that
that.
all of the links are in the description below. We will make sure that all of the links to connect with you, as well, are available and accessible to our listeners. We'll make sure of that,
Okay, I greatly appreciate that.
of course.
I do, like I said, I do speaking engagements. I go and speak. I'm very high strung when it comes to speaking. I could talk a lot, but if you have a specific topic that you need to talk about, if you want to have Actshun come in and speak at your job to get the morale up of your company, I want to do that. Or if you want to speak on other topics like sexual harassment, I can speak on that as well.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. And I know that you're going to be working with a network of guys, to put together something for, like you said, the wrongfully convicted and those that have been incarcerated, as well, along with your 501c3.
well, what I'm currently working on, once the coronavirus is over, is sitting back
Um,
down with Ms. Wardy, and we are going to go to a program in which I'm going to head that allows me to go into the jails and really help these guys, even if they're not wrongfully convicted, help them see, you know, how to change their life.
right, right.
It's all about change. And one of my mottos, the biggest motto that I have is changing your attitude changes your altitude.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome. Thank you so much again for taking the mic here on Unscripted. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. You may be angry at someone that does not give you the right to provide false information about them that can essentially change their lives forever. Also, if you're in a situation where you have had false allegations against you, don't give up the fight. Fight harder, because you may be the next person changing and paving the ways for the new justice system. If you are dealing with some difficult times in your life, or you like to learn ways to become prepared for what life may have to throw at you, go ahead and book that discovery call at www.coachingbtw.com. That's www.coachingbtw.com, because no one deserves to fight through life alone. Well, it's definitely come to the end of the segment, and I'd like to thank you again, Actshun, for joining us here on Unscripted. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, also go to www.coachingbtw.com. Go ahead and click on the link that connects you right to the podcast, and I'll be excited to go ahead and speak with you about that. Don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms. Facebook is Coach Shay Owens. Instagram is Coach_Shay Owens. Twitter as well, is going to be Coach_Shay Owens. YouTube, Coach Shay Owens. For those of you watching the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, ding that bell, and leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Join us again next week on #Unscripted Conversations That Matter.